Hello and welcome to the Learned It, Living It podcast with Darlington College. Today we are filming this ahead of National Apprenticeship Week, but actually we are releasing this episode as part of National Apprenticeship Week, and I have a suite of guests with me today. So one at a time, starting at the end, will you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Rosanna and I'm one of the Business Development Advisors at Darlington College for Apprenticeships.
Fantastic, nice to meet you. Could you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Katie and I am a digital content creator apprentice at Darlington College working for Deaf Empowering Network.
Fantastic, so you're a current apprentice, okay, so what about yourself? Please introduce yourself, let us know who you are.
I'm Hope, I'm a solicitor at Latimer Hinks, solicitors in Darlington and a former apprentice.
A former apprentice versus the current apprentice, we shall see how we got on with that. And you, sir, what's your name and what do you do?
Hi there, Andy Pearce, the founder of On Track Learning. Our business is founded on apprentices, and we've had a current apprentice who's just finished there. I can't remember which level it is, but media studies is really important to our business.
That's great. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. I'm really looking forward. I've got a little introduction to do myself, but it's for someone who's off camera, pressing the buttons over there in that corner, and that is Alina. Alina did the Junior Content Producer Apprenticeship. I've mentioned it most times when we do this podcast because it was a fantastic experience going through, and Alina is no longer an apprentice and is working full-time and is producing things such as this podcast. So it feels very circular that the fact that we're talking about National Apprenticeship Week today, we've got someone who is actually an apprentice editing the podcast that we're filming today. So yeah, it's fantastic. I'm going to lean into you first because obviously you're coming at this from a very different angle as a business owner and running a business. So why apprenticeships? What are the things that you've seen? What made you, I suppose, in the first instance go, do you know what? I would like to go down the route of taking an apprentice.
So I think it first started with we couldn't really find the people we needed for our business. Just whether it was based on their experience being in different fields. We're a learning and development business. It's not a massive trade. People don't typically come out of college with that as a qualification. So we thought, let's find some young people who we can mould to be like us, but we can help upskill them with the college involved as well. Obviously, therefore, there's some sponsorship of them working with our customers directly, and we're also benefiting because they're going through a qualification at the same time. That was to start with. We came back, and similar to Elena, our apprentice came back from his apprenticeship to become a media creator because our demand was overtaken. He just found an interest in it, and we bumped into the college and said, we're looking to recruit somebody who can do this full time, and there was an opportunity to upskill him formally. So super, there's 7 of us and 3 of our staff are apprentices or from an apprentice background.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. That's wow, putting people to shame out there doing that. But I think that's a really good way of looking at it. You've got a skills shortage, you're trying to find the right people. You're like, well actually, and sometimes with things like media and producing content like what we're doing today, there is a bit of a bespoke training element that you sort of need to get to grips with. So I can absolutely see how that works. So you're here as part of the college.
That's right.
Yes. So what is your role on the college? Because we've heard from the employer side of things in terms of why go down that route. When they pick up the phone, is it yourself that they're speaking to?
Yeah, you'd probably ring and speak to myself. And again, it's just really listening to employers to see what skills shortage you have in the workplace. And then it's trying to find out some companies come in, like you said yourself, and might want someone for customer service. But in actual fact, you found out the talent from the apprentice you had better skills elsewhere. So then it's changing the course to suit the needs, which, happens sometimes with a lot of businesses. They're not quite sure what they want.
Yep.
So it's explaining what we do offer at the college and seeing if we can match the apprenticeship to suit the skills needs of the business.
Right, okay. But I bet you can see a wide ranging of businesses getting in touch. So I bet it's not just the same apprenticeship. What sort of businesses do the college work with?
Anything from journalism, journalists, business admin, procurement, bricklaying, plumbing, carpentry, auto care. So it's a really big area that we cover in our apprenticeships.
Yeah, having been through the process myself, I've got some first-hand experience of that, and certainly is when I was looking through the course information that's available, and you go, what options are out there? It's actually massive and huge in terms of what the college provide. which is great for employers, I imagine.
Yeah, I guess what worries me is, as an employer, it wasn't my first port of call. And so I'd really, I'd encourage employers, when you're thinking upskilling, businesses have to be so agile now. You can't say we're all skilled to do what all our customers need. AI comes along and changes the market straight away. You've got to think, my existing staff can get more qualifications, get more business skills, and the new people coming in. But it wasn't my first thought. It's only from meeting the college. We've done quite a lot of work with the college on different projects for customers, but they weren't my first thought. So, why not? I'm not sure. Maybe it was my background, my attitude, my education, whatever that might have been. But we certainly now think about our next recruit will probably be an apprentice. And that's sort of changed the way I've approached businesses.
Right.
My business, sorry.
Yeah, and I think we'll come on to benefits of hiring and that experience shortly. But I've talked about yourselves at the end, but obviously we've got you, it's Katie, is it? Yeah, Katie. Got Katie here, who is a current apprentice. So tell me, how far in are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I started in September, and I do the content creation apprenticeship. So it's completely different to what I've ever done before. But I've always had like a love for creative stuff and things like that. But I couldn't have done this if it wasn't for an apprenticeship, because I've got a house now, I've got bills, and it's, like I say, it's a complete job change. Before I was working with children, and now I'm kind of making content and editing, and it's amazing like how hand in hand they go. So like you get the learning from college and then straight away you're doing that, and you learn so much so quickly. So like already, I've learned how to search engine optimization, websites, a term I didn't know before September, editing videos, editing photos, all of that stuff. And it's really nice because you get the support from like college and your mentor and your tutor, but then also in the workplace. So they're like looking for opportunities for me to grow, and there's so much variety with it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with anything like media, to sound obviously similar to the media placement I think you've mentioned. It sounds very similar, and the problem with media is there's so much of it to work with, and when you go on web and online and this, that and the other, there are so many different assets to whether it's digital content creation or digital marketing. There's so many different elements to learn. So is that, some of it is obviously you've got guided lessons at college. Take us through that. So what sort of topics are you touching on in college?
So we just did last week marketing and like the principles of marketing, but then say just before Christmas we had hold of cameras and we're like getting photography and videos and then editing them, or we'll be given like briefs to do to like just upskill ourselves basically. And like I say, you just put that straight into your work, so it's quite a good way to learn because you're doing it constantly, and I think it grows you quite quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you go into work the next, so is it one day release, one day out at college, and then the other days that you're in, so when you then go back into work, are you going in with fresh ideas and ways you can contribute, or they're going, we've got a stack of videos we want you to edit? What's that sort of process like there? Yeah,
so I think it's a bit of both really, because they're keen for me to like have these ideas and grow them, and then again that's helping me grow. But also there'll be things that maybe need editing, and especially because I work for a deaf charity, like there's a lot that needs adding to videos, whether that's captions, a BSL translation or a voiceover, so I've been able to like learn those skills as well.
Brilliant, really good experience, a really good opportunity to tie in with your studies, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic. We'll come back to some of the things on your placement. Hope. Last but not least, so apologies. So there's a few of you today to get through, so it's great. So Latimer Hinks.
Yes.
First of all, what was your starting point with the apprenticeship journey?
So I started my apprenticeship straight after college. So I was 18 when I started working in a law firm. So the Solicitor apprenticeship is a higher apprenticeship, so I think it might be level 6.
Okay.
So it's a degree apprenticeship. So the way my apprenticeship worked, it's 6 years in total, and that's from, well, for me, that was from college and then up to qualification as a solicitor. So that worked for me. The first 4 years was the degree, so it was 1 day a week study day, and then the other 4 days full-time work in a law firm. So I actually did my apprenticeship at a firm in Newcastle, and then I joined Latimer Hinks as a qualified solicitor in September.
Oh wow! Congratulations, great work. So when did you qualify? Did you qualify last year?
I qualified in September.
It was in yeah.
Yeah,
You moved straight.
yeah.
That's fantastic. I think the thing that stands, like, often people don't realise that you can do level 6 university level apprenticeships. That I think sometimes that's maybe overlooked in terms of doing it. I mean, in terms of the levels, Rosie, what?
We do up to a level 7 as well. Our senior journalism apprenticeship, that's a level 7. In procurement, we do a level 6 as well.
Yeah.
There's a broad range of levels you can do within your apprenticeship.
So there's real far-reaching sort of levels that apprenticeships can take you to in terms of, you know, where you want to go with your career. And I think, you know, I never realised you could be an apprentice solicitor. I think that's incredible.
No, I had no
It
idea.
was we were actually the first year that did it in the northeast. So previously they only offered the course in London, and I knew that I didn't want. I'm not a London girl, so I wanted to stay up in the northeast, and it was kind of luck really that it started just as I was ready. So yeah, it worked out well.
That's fantastic. So what sort of things were you doing? So obviously you're working and training, you know, studying.
Yes.
What sort of things was the experience like with the work element? Like, what sort of things were you doing?
So different firms, it differs how they do it. So I was from quite a large firm in Newcastle, so they had a lot of different teams in the firm. So the way that the apprenticeship works there, for the first 4 years whilst you're doing your degree, you're in the same team, and I think that worked quite well because it gives you a chance to kind of build up skills in that area of law. 'Cause different areas are very different and require quite different skills. So I started at 18, straight from college. So I think it was a really good way to get used to office working. There's a lot of other skills that you need for the job and for working in an office, as well as the technical knowledge for the law. So I think that was really useful.
I think with law, there's so many facets to it in terms of, like, it's the systems of work, not just, you immediately jump, we need to learn the law, right?
Yes.
You think, like, which bit of law are we working on? We need to do that. But like you say, the experience to be able to go into that working environment and kind of go understand how, you know, solicitors work in terms of all the stuff that you kind of don't see that people have to do. And we all have those in our jobs in terms of, you know, the admin, the work, the systems that you've got to work to. It's really important to get right. Wow, that is fantastic. So when obviously you were looking at the route of the apprenticeship, you got in touch with the college. Obviously we've got the digital apprenticeship service. Now, when you're coming from that, you quite often see acronyms often in education. So it's DAS. So if you're wondering what that is the Digital Apprenticeship Service. Rosie, could you just tell me what that is and what that does?
It's a government account where all apprenticeships are managed by the government. So to take on an apprentice, you need to be registered on the Digital Apprenticeship Service account. But we're very lucky at the college because as part of our team, we have a coordinator that will help employees through that process, because it's not easy for everybody. You know, it's great if you've got a big HR department, but if you're a smaller company and you need a little bit of a help, we do have somebody at the college that can help you.
Yeah, and I can say that firsthand because they helped me. They were incredible at setting it up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you just need to look at your DAS account." I was like, "Well, what?"
That was my first job, so I actually helped you set up.
Did you
yours.
help me set it up? Right. Well, there you go. There we go. But it was for me. It was completely new territory, you know. And obviously, I assume you went through a similar process with it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So we haven't got a HR department. We play many roles. So the last thing you want to think is, I've got a shortage of manpower, of staff, and I'm going to take on more work to achieve, you know, the output. I don't remember having to do an awful lot at all, if I'm honest. It just worked for us. It worked really well. You know, you've got 4 days a week of somebody learning your business firsthand and learning a qualification that adds to your business. And I don't remember, somebody will have done it for us, because I don't remember it being painful. I do know we get a lot of communication around it from time to time. But
I remember being chased by Rosie to validate a link or something. It's like, you haven't done it yet. I was
accept
like,
accept.
Yeah, accept. Click, that was it. It was accept.
Yeah,
it was
I
accept.
don't do that now, so I'm quite happy, because you feel awful having to ring someone all the time, but you need to do it, unfortunately.
100%. What I was blown away with was when I was going down the route of the apprenticeship and putting it out there, it wasn't just me going, hey, I'm having an apprenticeship, and the college going, hey, we're doing an apprenticeship. It was also that digital service, that digital system was going, hey, there's an apprenticeship here. And it was amazing. I mean, did you get lots of different applicants that you wouldn't necessarily imagine getting?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I was quite surprised actually at the variety of applicants we got.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised.
Yeah, so I think that service is often overlooked in terms of what people see from the outside. Now, obviously, did you go through that service? How did you find your apprenticeship? How did that come about?
I think I saw it through the government website, because they have a section for apprenticeships, don't they?
Correct answer. No, I mean, no, but yeah, so you found it through the government website,
Yeah, because I knew I wanted to do something like content creation, so it was just a case of like having a look and seeing what resonated with me or what I would find interesting. Because obviously, you can be a content creator in like so many different workplaces, can't you? Yeah. Content
can be anything. It's just
the
method is similar, but it's the content that you're creating
exactly
can be so different. So you actively looked for that on the digital platform, basically.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Hope? How did you come across? Yeah, there's a good. How did you go? Solicitor apprenticeships, what I want to do. How did you come across it?
I think it was quite lucky for me because our college didn't kind of champion apprenticeships in the same way that I feel a lot of colleges do now. It was very kind of university based, so it was kind of a lot of independent research for me. So I had to look on the government website, and there was nothing on there because they hadn't done it before in the northeast. So I was getting kind of applications for London, and I didn't want to move down to London. So there's kind of a group in Newcastle and the surrounding areas called NESA, which is Northeast Solicitor Apprentices. So I managed to find that, and you apply for the apprenticeship rather than the firm. So you apply for the apprenticeship, and all of the different firms that are within that group will see your application, and they kind of pick and choose who they want to interview.
Must feel very special getting picked. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. And I think it's interesting because that general conversations I've had with various students, former students, talking about apprenticeships, they often go, I've been looking on the government platform, and I, as an employer, never realised how many people actually look at that as... You don't touch it, do you? In terms of, like, before you go, I've got an apprenticeship that I'd like to offer, you don't go near that. So I think having that, available to you really makes such a difference. Rosie, how easy is it for an employer, while we're on that, to work through the DAS system with yourselves?
Very easy. Like I say, we do have someone on hand that can I even come to your business to help you go through the process together. You can come into college. Like I say, there's always someone on the end of the phone to help you through that process. As long as you've got certain details like your PAYE, it's a pretty easy process to navigate.
Yeah. I just remember having lots of help. It was very easy because I just had help. It was fantastic. So yeah. So moving on, obviously there's things around funding and the different levels of apprenticeship, and I'd like to lean into that because I know the funding changes with apprenticeships in terms of the level of the qualification, I believe, the age of the individual, and this, that, and the other. I mean, Rosie, what sort of is the general sort of myths that you come across when it comes to funding apprenticeships?
Well, you've got two different sides to the funding. You've got levy and non-levy paying companies. If you're a levy paying company, the company earns over 3 million, so the company pays into a levy pot, and that's where the company draws down to pay for the apprenticeship. A lot of big companies don't actually realise they've got this levy pot, and again, if you don't use it within the year, you lose it. So as a levy company, use your levy pot. It's there to train, But again, we know because we're masters in what we do, but if you're not aware in a company, your HR department might be aware of it, but you might not be aware of it as an employee. Small businesses, you only ever pay 5% towards the training costs. If you're an apprentice under 21, it's free. And there's lots of grants available out there. There's an age grant if you're under 20. Is it 19 now? I think it just recently changed. So yeah, it's still 19. What else can I say?
There was
Funding,
also
hasn't it?
funding from
Tees
Tees
Valley,
Valley. Yeah, I was going to say, I
Combined
don't know whether
Authority.
that's still going.
Yeah, and again, I think it changes all the time, so it's always good to go onto the website and have a look what's available, because there's great support again from Tees Valley. You know, you'll just get the link and it even tells you everything there.
Yeah, yeah.
Easy.
There's also on the government website, there's loads of advice on the wages and pay, because often I've heard employers say, you know, what do we pay, what are the fees, what's this 5%, what's this?
Yeah, and we
It's
can
cool.
send you the link to
Yeah.
the up-to-date apprenticeship.
Yeah, so to explain that, I suppose you've got your training costs in terms of budget. Obviously, in some cases, the employer pays, was it 5%, you said?
Yeah, that's towards the training costs.
Towards the training costs, and then obviously the employer would pick up the bill in terms of the salary and the wages of
right.
the individual.
Yeah, and I think the minimum wage in your first year is £6.40. I think that's rising in April.
Yeah.
And then after 19, there's different scales.
So if you're listening after April, check the website.
Yeah.
But they're all listed in, you know, and all the wages are set for apprenticeships and things like this. I'm going to ask you a question about the concerns you had going down the apprenticeship route. So think back, how many apprentices have you had?
4 altogether.
So go back to the first one.
Yeah.
All right. So you're obviously thinking about it. Going, we've got the skills need.
Yeah.
I need to try and figure this out and fix this problem for my business.
Yeah.
What were your concerns going into the apprenticeship, and then how did you overcome them?
So I think, I'm going back a few years, I think that my biggest concerns were taking on somebody with no experience of work. So the first apprentices we took on were, fresh out of college, so to speak, or still in college. And I thought, how are we going to give them a culture of work ethics when we're such a small business? So there was 3 of us at that point, and we interviewed 6 apprentices. Again, I didn't quite know who we'd be meeting, who we'd come across. So my biggest concern was, would we find somebody who was, I'm sorry to use this word, grown up enough to fit in with a work culture? So appreciate that it's not learning. You'll go away to learn the day, but there's 4 days where we're working with clients who are big customers. We were fortunate to work with some. So that was my first one, and I must say a handful of people who we interviewed lived up to that bill. They did. However, we still had to choose 1 from 3 or 4, and we ended up picking 2 because they were too good to not choose. So we went from wanting to recruit 1 apprentice, customer service apprentice, to actually taking 2 on board. And 1 became a media creator, and 1 became almost our business analyst, because they just took to the spreadsheets run our business, as you'd probably imagine. They just took to spreadsheets like some matrix genius who could see behind the formulas, and added so much value there that their careers went in very different directions very quickly. But yeah, so I was worried we spent a day at the Bannatynes Hotel doing the interviews, and I thought, well, we'll see where we get. And we ended up with 2 recruits.
Yeah, so you went from being concerned to going, well, I have someone who's ready to work, going, actually, I can't pick between the 2 of you. I'll have you both. That's incredible.
And 1's gone on to be an IT consultant. I say IT, working IT, and 1's still with us today. So that's 4 years ago.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I think 4, could be 3. Time flies.
Hope was on the other side of there. So you came straight from college
Yes.
into that. So from your point of view, you said if someone wanted to have a look at your application, they could then invite you for interview. Is that right?
Yes.
So how was that for you being on the other side?
It was difficult knowing kind of what they wanted and things like that. So I initially applied for NESA, which was the Northeast application, and I didn't get an interview. So then the company I worked for put out another kind of similarly to yourself. They decided that this was too good for an opportunity, so they wanted 2 more. They initially only recruited 1. So then I applied directly to the business, and it just happened to be one of the firms that I was looking at, and that one of the firms I wanted to work with. And then luckily I got an interview for that one, and it worked out in the end.
There we go. And then obviously going from education into, you're still in education obviously with the apprenticeship side, but going into that workplace, what was that first day like?
I think that I was quite blissfully ignorant, so I didn't feel like too intimidated or things like that. It was all more exciting. So I think that that worked quite well for me, because I didn't have that kind of like extreme nerves or anything like that. I was more excited. And I think the culture of the firm really helped as well. It really didn't feel, I would guess, like stereotypical law firm where it's all closed door and you don't speak to a partner. And so I think that really helped. So I didn't have that kind of initial fear, I guess.
So it's not all like the movies.
It's not, no, unfortunately. It's not like Suits.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, that's what I was
That's
thinking.
what they told me on the first day at the interview.
What they said, it's not like
They
Suits.
said, if you think it's going to be like Suits, then just go.
We're like, I don't have a photographic memory, so
Great.
yeah. Obviously, Katie, for you, your first day was not so long ago.
No.
So how was that? You're going in. You've come. Did you finish college in the summer? How's that worked?
So I'm an older apprentice, I guess. Is that right? Would you say? I'm looking at you.
No,
Am I
because I'm
old?
old. No. We get apprentices that are in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's really important to capture the different journeys. So how did you get to
exactly.
it? I think it's important to know.
Yeah, so basically I was in a previous job until about summer, and then obviously I interviewed and wanted a job change and got this job.
Yeah.
So my first day, I felt nervous.
Yeah, understandable.
Because it was a completely different role, and I wanted to make sure that I could fulfill it.
Yeah.
And now, confidence has grown as I've moved through the months and I'm learning more. So yeah.
Is this apprenticeship a part of a career change for you, would you say?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. So as like why I was saying earlier, like I don't think I would have had this opportunity to have a career change because I didn't have the skills to just go, I want to be a content creator.
Yeah.
Whereas the apprenticeship has given me that. And I was quite apprehensive when I was applying because I thought, like I'm above 21, like it might put people off because they're going to have to pay me more. But actually, it didn't. I had like a fair few interviews with different people, so it just shows you like not to be put off, even if you are a little bit older.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different assumptions that we can make around apprenticeships.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say whether are they gonna fit in at the workplace could be one, and if they're straight from college, will they know how work works? If that, and all these sort of assumptions. But I think evidence shows that all those concerns are things that they're absolutely overcome, and it's about welcoming people in, albeit saying it's not like Suits, disappointingly, but welcoming people in and provide an environment that's conducive for both the apprentice and the employer. Benefits of hiring an apprentice. You give us the party line, Rosie. What are the benefits?
Well, I have this is a little bit away from me. I can sit here and tell you all the statistics about the benefits of hiring an apprentice, but I'm going to ask the people who have taken on an apprentice, like yourself, what are the benefits to you? Because I can put you in
I've never been
right
interviewed on this
connections.
podcast. This is brilliant.
I think I did that on my own college interview because I can say the right things for everybody, but realistically, it comes from you as the employer.
Yep. Well, I'll answer from my experience with the fabulous Alina over there. Hi, Alina. It was great from start to finish with the college supporting me when you're running a small business. How busy are you wearing all the different hats? You just said you don't have HR. You do have HR. It's you.
Finance.
And finance
marketing,
and
sales,
the whole lot.
Business development.
Yeah, product development, and then actually at some point you've got to do the actual work that the client is paying you to do. So the help that I had, speaking for myself, helped me massively be able to get the thing rolling and get the thing going. Yes, I had to learn a few things about how the schemes work and what the funding is and all of those sort of things, but all of that was helped, like as you said. In terms of benefits, well, Alina is our editor-in-chief. That's what we call her because she is brilliant at doing what she's done. And yes, when Alina started, there was a learning for both of us. How do I effectively support her to make sure she can have the best opportunity? And B, has she got all the equipment she needs? Are we investing in the right IT equipment for the editing software? Does she understand what our style is? And also, with something like us, our style develops with the clients that we work with. So it was understanding and developing together as you go. And then lo and behold, when she starts turning around and saying, "Did you know that this software did this?" And I'm like, "Nope," because I'm too busy being HR, business development, and all of this. So that was mine. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think you're right. You've got to look at what you need as a business. So I knew I couldn't afford senior L&D professionals who would have charged me a salary of £50,000 a year. We hadn't grown that much at that point, but we had enough client work of a standard to help mould somebody. So, we were looking for the right people. The fact that they were apprentices helped because we knew they'd also get developed outside of our business, because there is a risk that you just mould somebody into what you want, but actually there's so much more. So I think we got what we needed in terms of people who could do the work. That was quite key. So they were mature, they were grown up enough, they created the culture. I mean, they became it really. And we learned what culture should be rather than enforce it on them. But in terms of apprentice, non-apprentice, for me, the business is so small that there isn't a role. You can't say you're going to answer the phone all day, you're going to do this one thing. So you've got to be so nimble, I think the word, or agile in business. To your point, we have so many hats. The people we recruited ended up wearing so many hats as well, but they just took to it because they hadn't got a preformed idea about what it should look like. And so for Alex to start doing the media work as his second apprenticeship, he came on as customer service. It's because he'd grown into that role. He'd responded to what our customers needed. We were responding, going, we need a media content creator or somebody. And the college said, you've probably got one.
Yeah.
You've probably got one already, so why not develop what you've got? So for me, it's always, what does my business need and how can it grow, rather than what does an apprenticeship give me? Yeah. I think that then speaking to people in the college, it's helpful then to say, we have the conversation, we understand where we're at, and there's an opportunity. So we're going to grow again. I'm very hopeful of that. And already as a board, as not a massive board of directors, but there's enough of us to say, there would be an apprenticeship straight away. Which apprenticeship, we don't know, because we'll come to the college and say, this is what we do, this is what it's working like, this is where we're at the moment, but we need somebody who will fall into this category, so to speak. I wouldn't know how to recruit another role for the type of work we do right now. But then I'm blinded by success, potentially.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really good way of summarising that. Sorry, we're giggling a bit because I just coughed off camera, which we'll edit out, but we'll let you know that we did it. Our little secret. Sorry, I had that cough just in the background there. So, yeah, I totally agree. I think you've got to cast away some aspersions of it. I think sometimes society, as from a business owner's standpoint, they could go, oh, it's cheap labour and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, it's not going to succeed with the attitudes in terms of that. And I think equally, you know, because there are apprentices' wages for depending on what course you're on and what you're doing, but it's not about that. It's about moulding someone to create something, and it's had a massive impact on your business. Yeah. And I think from an apprentice standpoint, obviously, you're into it. At the end of it, you want to be qualified in the subject matter that you're in, you know. So you're willing to go through the process of trying to work almost full time, near enough. With a day release in college and do everything that you need to college. So a lot to take on, a lot to get done. So Hope, questions to you. How did you find that side in terms of workload, juggling studies, juggling the work element as well?
I think it's definitely, that's one of the big skills that we needed to learn as an apprentice. And I think that'll be a similar situation in all apprenticeships. So we had to juggle full-time work, pretty much. And then you'd have one day to get through the university work, but that wouldn't be enough. So you'd have to kind of fit that in and around. And as a junior in a firm, I think it's quite important to get involved in the other things. So it's like the social aspects. There's a lot of networking in our industry. So it's things like that, getting involved, kind of starting to build your brand as you start as you mean to go on. So that was definitely a skill that, you know, I feel like everyone's always continuously developing. But that's definitely something that comes with the apprenticeship. It was something that I'd kind of already started because when I was at college, I had like part-time jobs. And I think things like that, transferable skills are so important. So I was like part-time in like a restaurant whilst I was at college, and then I volunteered at the Citizens Advice Bureau.
Right, okay.
So I think kind of having that juggle really, really helped me when I started the apprenticeship, because I already kind of had an idea how to allocate and prioritise my time.
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, I imagine.
No.
But, and keeping, because how long was your apprenticeship?
So mine was 6 years in total.
So it's keeping your eye on the prize, like the end goal, while you're dealing with the good days, the
Yes.
fun socialising, the networking, but equally you've got to deal with the hard days where,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you're up against it and that happens in work, right? How long is your apprenticeship, Katie?
So mine's a lot less than yours. So mine's between a year and 15 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. So for you, you can really kind of go all guns blazing in terms of achieving it.
Yeah, like I think that's just when you're on about like what's the benefits of having an apprentice. I think it's like how keen they are and like the opportunities they'll take, and they'll kind of like grab on that.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going in. Just this. It's just a year, you know. Just be tired for a year. It's fine.
Absolutely. I think especially, you know, your changing career in effect and the route you've taken, I think is fantastic in terms of you are getting to live it and breathe it and experience it,
Yeah.
you know, and you're getting to put it into practice. So when you get to the end of the 12 to 15 months, you can then go, you know, is there an opportunity where I am?
Yeah.
Or is there an opportunity elsewhere, depending on what's going on?
Yeah.
You've actually been in that environment, and if someone goes, well, have you done this as a job? You're like, well, yes, I have. And here's all the skills, and here's all the things that I've learned, and here's all the things I've actually developed, because I've come at it with an open mind for opportunity for learning. I think it's brilliant. Did we answer your question, Rosie?
Thank you. I need to be in that seat next time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I think you're right to say it. I think you're right to say
I
it.
could say all the right things, but it's not. It has to be from an employer and an apprentice's point of view, not mine. I feel like the in-between person that connects
You
the
said that
dots.
actually when you arrived, didn't you? You said I'm the in-between
I mean,
person.
I've got to say, I remember seeing Katie's application come through and remembering at the time, she'd be great for this company. Do you know when you get a gut feeling? And when we're saying about, you were saying I'm a bit more
Make me
mature.
blush.
But then I've seen you at networking events, not just doing your course. We've met at networking events and you've come so far.
Yeah,
honestly,
I do feel like
I
that.
feel like a proud parent when I see everybody, you know, because at the end of the day, it's nice to see the beginning conversation with an employer and then even them coming back like yourself saying, oh, you know, this is great, this has worked. So I'm about listening to everybody. I'm just the counsellor.
You're just a counsellor. Absolutely. I think, you know, as the counsellor then, what are the biggest challenges you see for employers engaging in apprenticeships?
The DAS account sometimes can put people off looking for funding.
That's the digital apprenticeship service. I keep having to read it.
Yeah.
I should remember
So
that.
that's one of the areas. Knowing what funding's available, how much to pay an employer, what does the contracts look like for, you know, it's all of those areas. But again, that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. So, you know.
So in a sense, what you're actually saying, it's more of the logistics and air quotes admin rather than actually having the apprentice in work doing something on the day. It's all of that system stuff, I suppose, that they have to work with.
And even the recruitment process, again, we deal with all of that for you. You know, we'll make sure that everybody's got the right entry requirements. You know, we'll set up the interviews. We have a college interview. So again, I think for the apprentice, it's making sure the apprentice feels confident of the course that they're going to be learning over 6 years, you know, a year. They feel confident, yes, I can actually do that. They've got a little bit of knowledge of what they'll be learning before they go for an interview with an employer. So you've got a bit of background knowledge. So I hope we're preparing you that way. So yeah, it's just making sure everyone's prepared on both sides, really.
Yeah, I think it's really, and I think, again, maybe we're not lent into so much, but if we use yourself, Katie, as the example, you're learning all of those skills that you're talking about, video editing and this, that and the other, but you're on the job doing it and implementing it. You don't, and you get it as part of your lessons, but if you look at education before the apprenticeship, you don't necessarily get to go into all of those areas that are very specific to the business that you're in. And law, yes, you can do a law course at college in some colleges and this, that and the other.
Yeah, I did A-level.
Did you? Right. But obviously you can't then go, I'm a solicitor at that point. So it's how do you take that next step to do it? Do you have anyone that you know that went down the university route and what was your takeaways in terms of comparison with yourself?
So I was the only one out of my friendship group who did an apprenticeship. Everyone else went to university. And I did kind of have first year as a backup plan.
Yeah.
I'd kind of decided in my own mind that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. But I applied for universities, I had interviews, things like that. But I knew it wasn't for me, and it's very personal preference. And we always say that when we do kind of careers days and things like that, there's no wrong way to do it or right way. It's just what's best for you. And I knew that I wanted to be working. I think learning on the job so invaluable, having that experience. And for me as well, qualifying as a solicitor, I knew a lot of people who had been to university, done a law degree, and then couldn't get the training afterwards. So
Right.
After you've got your degree, a law degree, you have to have 2 years of training in a firm before you qualify. And that's really, really difficult to get.
Right.
It's very competitive. So there was a lot of people I know who had done a degree and then were taking like admin roles or paralegal roles,
Yeah.
which is a career in itself, but it's a lot lower like entry requirements.
Yep.
So it just kind of, for me, it was just a no-brainer.
Bit of an outlier in terms of looking at that and going here, but I suppose it makes sense in so many ways, because if you do your studies at university, you get to the end, you've got the piece of paper, but then you've got to find the workplace. You've got to go and get the work experience, so to speak. So, the apprenticeship sounds like a fantastic option to go down, especially for the way you did it. I think that's incredible, actually. What's your biggest takeaway then as an employer on apprenticeships, and are you looking to do another one?
So yes, we are looking to do another one. My biggest takeaway is if you're like me and you're growing your business, you want your business, it grows based on the founder. For me, there's 7 of us, so my imprint is everywhere. There's quite a big shadow that I cast, and therefore there isn't a way of doing something that isn't kind of the way I would expect it to be done.
Yeah.
So for me, the apprentice gives me the youthfulness of, it doesn't work like that anymore, particularly when it comes to media. I don't like social media. That's useless in a business these days. So
Is that when you become the apprentice?
Absolutely, yeah. You're so right. So for me, there's that element of they learn to work in your business like your business likes to work, without being oppressive, but also bring other skills whilst they're learning from the college that your business really needs. So yeah, my one takeaway is have a real look at how you can succession plan if you need senior roles, grow people through the business because they'll be your business, they know your customers, and get more grassroots. And certainly work with the college, because there's a lot of people who could potentially fill that place that you won't find on LinkedIn Navigator, which, my apprentices weren't on LinkedIn. They didn't know what LinkedIn was until they joined us. And so the typical tools that people are looking to use to find roles now, I don't think we'll tap in necessarily to the apprentice market. Hence, we're not using them now.
Oh, there we go then. That's a big takeaway. That's a huge transformation. I think you becoming the apprentice, that's a great idea.
It's a good spot.
When
I
you're
didn't realise
doing-
it until you mentioned it.
Yeah. But so they're in effect teaching you, aren't they, and advising you on the best way to go about a certain, was it social media you used to
Social
example?
media, absolutely. And there is something that, my pathway is to grow the business is eventually that it has a value. Therefore, the business has to run itself. So my shadow has to disappear.
Yep.
So if you're not bringing people in who can support what that would look like from knowing how it works, then you're bringing in potentially attitude. It's very hard to recruit. Recruitment takes a lot of time. It takes on average £8,000 to recruit somebody, I believe, at the moment.
Yeah.
And that might not work for that person or you. I think if you find the right apprentice, and we found 4, then it's got more chance of working. It's a lower cost to recruit, and you're creating somebody who works as part of your business and plugs in what you want them to plug in rather than what they think they should be doing, and have an expectation of something different. That's very unique potentially to my business, but I'm sure there's a lot of business owners out there who are facing increases in April that we have to deal with, where the amount we can spend on our staff it's going to hurt. It's not going to be easy, but we still want to grow. We don't want to stop. And so I think it's a dare I use the word no-brainer now, to look at a more adaptable way of recruiting people.
I think on that, the modules, for example, that you both covered in your apprenticeships, Katie and Hope, if you're listening, and you can't see us on video, I'm pointing. it's very practical, very real, very grounded in the job, the industry that you're doing. And yes, you're learning as you're working it and doing it, but you can be actively impacting a business like yourself, for example. And it's clear that you've obviously done a fantastic job, I hope, at getting through yours, so congratulations on that. And obviously, Katie, it sounds amazing what you're doing, and just keep it up. It's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing that develop, and maybe we should try and get Katie back on in 12 to 15 months' time. Or is it, what are we now, 9 to 13 months, 14 months' time?
It's dwindling, honestly.
It is dwindling. It's going to pass so quickly.
Yeah.
Rosie, you can have the last word. And you can't bounce it back to me. If people want to know a bit more about apprenticeships at Darlington College and what it's all about, obviously it's National Apprenticeship Week. This is the purpose of the podcast today. What would you say to A, an employer about apprenticeships, and B, a potential apprentice?
I would say contact the college and ask. It costs nothing to ask the question. We're here, there's 4 business development advisors in different areas. We've got a fantastic team. Ask the question. Even if you don't go away with an apprenticeship, you know, there's other ways we can work together. And for an apprentice, again, I would just go for it. Go for it. You're earning money, you're learning on the job, you're getting some fantastic, you know, training at the college. We've got some great tutors, assessors. You're supported every, you know, minute of the journey. Just go for it. Live it.
There you go. On brand.
Live it, learn it.
That's fine. But no, thank you so much for joining us today. I've thoroughly enjoyed that episode, and it made me go during the thing, do I need another apprentice? So there we go. And I'm not just saying that for the episode. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate, obviously, Hope and Katie. Thank you for sharing your experiences and obviously sharing your learning, Katie, in terms of what you're doing in the future. So we wish you all the best of luck, Katie, obviously with your studies, and continued luck with your career as a solicitor. Absolutely amazing stuff. If you would like to know more about anything that we've talked about today, please visit darlington.ac.uk and get in touch with someone at the college. They're here to help, and they would love to hear from you. Other than that, thank you so much for joining today, and we'll see you in the next episode.